Welcome to ComSpark. Today we are in Cincinnati, Ohio. My name is Jamie Lozan, and I'll be your guest host today. I'd like to welcome our guest, Chris Hickok, Director of IT at Home City Ice. As an IT leader in your company, how do you work with leadership from other functional areas to collaborate and move business projects forward?
That's a great question. I think early in my career, I had a little bit of that Steve Jobs in me, to where we feel like we find a technology or find something that might make a business process easier. And as a technology group, we brainstorm, we know how it should be put together, right? And so we put it together, pitch it over the wall, and hand it to that business group. And then all of a sudden we wonder why utilization isn't what it should be. And so I think the lesson that I got from that and what I apply now is that we involve business leaders from other functional areas early in the process. We find out what their pain points and needs are. It's not enough to see a solution in the news or see a solution out there and say, wow, this would be great for the business. It's actually asking those business leaders up front, what are your pain points? What could we make easier for you? And involving them from the very beginning. I think getting that buy-in and building some kind of relationship with them early is a great way to make sure that we're driving those results forward instead of just that traditional make and then throw over the wall to them.
Right. Well, that's great. So you found by increasing or tying your IT goals to business goals, has that increased adoption? You talked about less adoption with the stuff that you've deployed. Has that helped that situation?
Absolutely, it has. And I think business goals are one way to word that, and business goals are great as long as they do align with the pain points and the problems that people are facing. Okay. And that we absolutely align to those goals. But I think the bigger piece is finding out, just like it's no different than if you're trying to work with a customer, right? The things that you want to sell to a customer, pain points that they truly have, that they would pay someone to solve for them. And it's the same thing with your business partners. Where are those areas that are just a mess? You can't hire enough people for. It's an area of frustration. Turnover is happening because of it. And I think if you find those things and implement solutions, then adoption is very easy.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So as businesses become more digital and increase the use of technology, the nature of the IT function has changed. Have you seen a shift in your organization from operations, user support, and infrastructure to a more focus on core business functions and the customer? And can you provide some examples of that?
Absolutely. So this shift is kind of an area of passion of mine. And I say shift kind of tongue-in-cheek because there is a shift. The focus is absolutely more on how can we drive business results. But it's not a shift in such a way that the basics, that the fundamentals of IT and technology have gone away. I can develop life-altering, business-changing solutions, but if the basic infrastructure that is underlying those solutions doesn't work or isn't reliable or is a pain point for our business users, it doesn't matter. So those things have not gone away. They're kind of table stakes now, though, for an IT department. An IT department has to be very good at delivering that, and that can't be the 80% anymore. It has to be the 20%. But then layered on top of that, yes, absolutely. The good IT leaders, good CIOs, are those that align with their business peers, like we were just talking a minute ago, and finding solutions that will really change the business and drive that business value. So we can't spend 80% of our time talking about and worrying about firewall changes and network upgrades and that kind of thing. That stuff has to happen, but yes, on top of that, absolutely, drives business results.
Thank you. How is cybersecurity communicated in your enterprise?
It's a very timely question right now. I think cybersecurity is on everybody's mind, and all the basics are in place, and I think that's a great thing. New users are trained. Video training comes out on a recurring basis to where we make those users aware, and I think that's great, and I think that's something that you have to do. But I think even more than that, having conversations with people about cybersecurity issues, because let's face it, our number one defense against cybersecurity issues are our users, right? We can put all the firewalls and technology in place that we want to, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that make a difference. So as we have phishing scams that come out, as we have, hopefully nobody falling for those things, but as we have those things coming out, talking with the users, just addressing it in a very real way. In our annual managers meeting, our CFO got up and talked about the prevalence of these phishing scams and what some of those outcomes are. And so I think it's, if we have the attitude of setting it and forgetting it, right? We're going to put this program in place, we'll phish test our users, make sure that they don't fall for it, but then never talk about it. That's not effective. For us, I think having regular conversations, calling up someone in the field because you see that they responded to a phishing email that got through the firewall, having those conversations, and I think word travels very fast. That this is something that we're serious about, that there are serious consequences to it, versus a program that a human never actually touches in the user's eyes. So really putting attention to the users, I think, is the best way to communicate that.
Makes sense. So regular communication, regular training, structured, regular kind of, I guess, training around these things, as well as maybe spot checks, testing them at will, if you would.
Absolutely. So one of the specific things, just to dive in a little bit more specifically, are phish testing users. So actually sending out a friendly email. It doesn't look like a friendly email. It looks exactly like a phishing scam, right? So when they click on it, though, they're taken to a screen, and that screen says, oops, you fell for it. Here's the things you should have looked for, right? And I would, again, along with what I was saying before, recommend taking that a step further. Not to shame the user or call them out, but actually talking to the person. I've called a couple of users as I've noticed we get reports, and I'll say, hey, did you click on that Bank of America credit card thing and enter a password? And, yeah. Do you have a Bank of America credit card? Well, no. And so it's not a shaming type thing, but it's kind of funny. You can kind of sit around and laugh about it. And as you do that with one user, that news travels very fast, right? It's a funny story, and it just becomes part of the culture. So absolutely utilizing those tools to drive the conversation.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that approach. I have a DoD background, so that's innovative in my opinion. How would you rate educational institutions, high schools, and higher education providers on preparing and providing pools of people with the technology talents needed for IT in your organization?
The educational institutions locally here, I think, are doing, by and large, a great job. So let's start with four-year institutions. They have a very tough job, right? We're not preparing a graduate to enter the workforce and immediately be productive today. I think the job of a four-year institution is to give a student, a graduate, the tools to be able to succeed in technology today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now, developing that thought process. With that being said, I do observe some gap in between what a graduate is armed with and what I would need for someone to be productive within the first, let's say, couple of months of employment. And so, by and large, I feel like they're doing the things that they should be doing. There are some probably smaller, more specific technologies that we could expose these students to so that they could be productive a lot quicker for us. So as a result, I've noticed a lot of the two-year programs in the area are doing some of those things. So maybe they don't have that same focus that I spoke about for the four-year institutions, but they do for the two-year students, and those students are fairly productive in roles as they come out immediately. And then I don't have a ton of experience in high schools with our department.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything in the near term that Home City Ice is working on from an innovation perspective that you'd like to share with us?
Absolutely. So I think a misconception about Home City Ice is its size. It grew up as a Cincinnati West Side company, one location up until the 80s, and at this point we're in 19 states and growing every single day. 800 route vehicles, 2,000 full-time equivalent employees. So it's a much larger company. We still have that family owned and operated type value, but as we learn how to scale this business, how to make it bigger, how to go across the country, one of the things that we're working on is what metrics really drive our business, right? We have all the data in the world as a company, but getting together as a management team and saying, here are the things that are important. Here's how we create a great customer experience. Here's how we create a great employee experience. Okay? And then what are the numbers that drive that? And then how do we as a technology organization get those numbers in front of people in a timely and quick manner so that it's accurate, so that people aren't fishing for data or debating data. They've got the data they need to make decisions. And so we're putting a lot of attention as a company and as a technology organization into unifying the business and tech around those numbers and those metrics.
Great. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
Yes.
I would like to thank Chris for joining us today, and for those listening to the interview, to learn more, go to comspark.tech.